Hey, friends, and welcome back to the show, the Kim and Danielle show. I don't know that we ever named it. I think I say that every time. We are talking about just transits and life's trials and relationships and why we respond and react the way we do, and how that pressure, that pushing pressure that we are feeling may not actually be yours. Like it might not be yours personally, and it might not be your problem to solve.
Yeah, so we definitely want to dive into the mechanisms of this current world that we're in, mechanically, and we're recording. um, yeah, because there's a mechanical way to understand like the field that we're in. If you've watched any of Kim and I's other calls, we've talked about how each one of us are very unique in the way that we process our existence. We process our life differently. But there are some certain rules and limitations, laws of our current world. And that's what we're also all experiencing. And this is what I've kind of called the ocean before, right? We're in this ocean of time that where we are really processing this food for consciousness, and it can come through in ways that are very stressful or bring us anxiety, because these are the conditions that we need in order to express our truth and to be who we really are. And especially with what we understand with the cosmology of where we're heading, our evolution of humanity, we are in this last phase of really processing out what it means to exist and coming up with our own unique answers individually. So we wanted to jump on here today to talk about how to maintain our own personal integrity despite all the pressures of the world and stress and anxiety that comes. So maybe what we can start with is understanding what the ocean looks like, right? Like what the conditions are for us as humans. We live in a pressure sandwich, okay? So we have the mental pressure to figure out our life mentally. This is what can cause distortion. So we've talked about following your strategy and authority rather than making mental decisions. But in the ocean of this grand machine that's trying to pump us out to extract our personal consciousness, there's a lot of mental pressure, right? Why are things happening this way? What happened before? Thinking about the past.
What do I need to do to get out from under this pressure? How do I get this off my back?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's a lot of mental fears, because that's how the mind is designed, is to come up with answers. So we think about awareness, right? Awareness is basically receiving the pressure of the world in order to understand why we're existing, right? Like what's happening. Awareness always comes in as fear. And the mental awareness is what creates anxiety if these fears are not like resolved, right? So we have the pressure, it comes into our ajna, which is our computer box that is trying to pump out answers like, well, maybe because of this or that. And they come in through fears, and fear is the basis of intelligence, right? So all this stuff that we're dealing with in the world, from stress and pressure and anxiety, is actually here to try to pump out this awareness. So it's hard to maintain your personal integrity despite all of this, because there's so much collective pressure in the ocean right now, right? Of being homogenized. Okay. We are in this last phase of the mental consciousness evolution. So consciousness is trying to really extract through each one of us, like, why are we existing? Right. Mm-hmm. So when we're dealing with all this collective pressure, it can be really hard to maintain like your personal perspective or truth in that, because there is a lot of pressure to go along with all the fears of the collective.
Yeah. And can we visit there for a minute? Like, I'm thinking of like all of this, the circumstance that's at hand for the last 2 years has really gotten people to ask a lot of questions, to go inside, to start to find their own consciousness, their own truth. Like, we're kind of being forced into personal responsibility. And whenever we're like, I hear what you're saying and I get it, but I'm wondering about the person who really doesn't even know who the hell they are yet. Like they're still trying to figure it out. And they've adopted to like the environmental messaging, right? About like what you should do whenever you're feeling uncomfortable, when you're feeling pressured, or whenever people are coming at you, or when they're, you're kind of being forced or manipulated to follow along.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
can we speak to like just giving a generalized idea what to do whenever you really don't even know what your truth is? You don't even know what you believe because you're so used to the conditioning that you thought that's just how things were. And now you realize, wait a minute, I'm going to begin to question things.
Yeah. And a lot of this is like when we talk about integrity, which is really like maintaining your truth, and judgment is the shadow, where we go into inferiority or superiority rather than just maintaining our truth and not being better than or lower than other people. This is something that is difficult because it can be uncomfortable to maintain your truth when it's conflicting to others, right? It's like to them, everyone in this field, like a lot of people, it's all about homogenizing, right? This whole program, this ocean that we're in, it's like, okay, everything's trying to get us to be like homogenized to go along with
like herding cattle, right? Everybody come in this direction. Let's close off these gates. Let's lure them in. Like, how do you lure the cattle or the herd to go in one direction? Which I can understand. I can relate, right? I have 5 kids. I've run businesses. Like, I get that there has to be some sort of system, but I think that we lost our sovereignty. We lost our personal responsibility. We lost our even trust in our own authority that is connected to divine, that is connected to everything, to consciousness. And right. Just how I was talking to a client this morning, and we were talking about the messaging that we receive from society and from the environment, from the world in general, when you're creating change, when you're doing personal development work, when you're reading those books, right? When you start following those things, and then society warns you. Right? Because they've seen other people do it, and like, it's like a cult, or it's just someone else trying to control you. And like, that's the story that we hear about trying to come to your own truth and your own sovereignty, that it's unsafe because they know someone who did that. Then she ended up leaving her husband, or they know someone who did that, and then she went crazy. She moved off to somewhere else. Like, all of that stuff is what's been put in our head. It's been cautioned. You better watch out because those people go on the deep end. But actually what's happening is those people are going inside of themselves.
Right.
That shit was never going to work anyway. It was entered incorrectly. They were playing a game. It was an illusion. It was the ideal of what they thought it was supposed to be, or what they were told. And so that shit was going to fall apart anyway. It was already falling apart. It wasn't even a real thing.
Right. Right. Yeah. And that's the thing. The more you resonate to your real truth, the more that you're okay with being uncomfortable just by like, okay, I'm going to maintain my truth. I'm still going to be open to, being with other people and listening and things like that. But I'm not going to allow others or the society or culture like sway me from like what I know in my internal truth. Then the things that are not correct for us do fall off, and people aren't going to like it, because a lot of times people will stay around because they like the our conditions,
the benefits according to the contract or the agreement, the silent agreement that you actually never wrote.
Yeah.
But it was just agreed upon according to behavior. If you do this, I do this. If you do this, I get that. And so whenever that stops, no matter who stops it, when the behavior stops on one end, things do come tumbling down, or you drop your basket. Like, I think about going to the chicken yard and picking all these eggs, right? And then you're just kind of like trip and fall and your eggs are all over the place. That is like all of those conditioned relationships.
Yeah.
When you are no longer in alignment with the vibration of that person or those beliefs,
yep,
you will begin to crack things open. Like, it's going to get messy. And then I think that is where people go back, because they don't want to risk the mess. And they're like, oh, wait, growth requires too much. It's too hard.
Yeah.
It's too uncomfortable. I'm losing all the people I love. Everyone around me is disappearing. But the truth is, you're not wanting to admit that you actually don't resonate with those people.
Yeah, exactly. And you bring up a good point with like the vibration and all of that, because really it's the mind that's like, in fear because it thinks it doesn't have control. So the mind goes into distortion, which
Yeah.
is not the vibration of like resonance of your truth. So you're creating these frequencies, these distortions, because you're thinking that the way you control your reality is with your mind.
That's
And
right.
it's by homogenizing down or being what you think people want you to be, or how they want you to say things, or, don't say this or that, or don't be like that, because that's, not going to resonate with all this other conditioning. So yeah, I mean,
And then you will be abandoned, rejected, left out, talked about,
yep,
judged,
not approved of, yeah,
which is the brain's biggest fear.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, maintaining your integrity in this time, it's like trusting that if you're in your truth frequency, your inner truth, that it doesn't matter what falls off, what leaves you, what doesn't like your truth, because then you'll start to resonate with what is actually for you, and trusting in that process rather than trying to control it with your mind, knowing that your vehicle, your resonance, all of that is your truth, is what is meant for you. That will attract what is correct for you. And I think that that's why we're having all of this chaos on the planet, because it is separating the people that either we're going to go into homogenization, right? You're either going to go into conditioning and not be yourself, or you're going to come into your truth, right? Like that is what consciousness or this time is trying to do, right? It's going
and it may be more comfortable to align with something that you don't necessarily agree with because it's more comfortable for you. Like just be there, just embrace it and be like, that shit's too hard. I'm not ready yet.
Yeah.
And that right there is going to put you back in your truth, because I'm not ready yet, because there is an aspect, there is a part of me that is freaking the hell out whenever this happens. And my nervous system is reacting and responding. And then my mind is telling a story about that response or that reaction. That is being in your truth. The
Right.
not yet, or maybe later, or not now. I'm exploring right now, especially like the stuff with like vaccine or not vaccine or COVID or not, all of that. Like, I don't know yet. And I'm willing to be in that not knowing. I'm willing to explore here. I had COVID. I have antibodies, and being pressured and pushed and, about what I should or shouldn't do. That's my condition right now. I have to decide that. No one can decide that for me.
Right. Yeah.
And someone with a pre-existing condition, and someone who has maybe lost someone or knows about someone in their family previously who lost someone to polio or to, whatever the thing was, whatever's driving the investigation, give yourself permission and don't allow the pressure from society and other people to sway you one way or the other. That's why there's so many people living in stress and regret and worry and fear, because they did not enter correctly. Right. They were persuaded. And if they would have made that decision on their own, then they would have peace about it.
Right. Yeah.
Because the truth is, this soul came to have this experience in this material world. The problem is, especially in the spiritual world, is there is so much seeking nirvana. Let's go to the Himalayas. Let's get away from these assholes. Let's get out of here. This doesn't work for me. I'm just going to eject from society, when the very essence of who we are is to come and engage with society. Just be willing to be in your truth and stop being persuaded to behave a certain way or be a certain way or appear a certain way.
Right. Yeah.
And so all of this is just a catalyst. It's not any different than any of the, it's like we have a hurricane coming right now, straight for Louisiana. Like we had 5 of those bitches last year. Pardon my French today, but I'm like on a hot trail. Between the doctors misinforming the patients and watching my clients in that dissonance and then in that struggle, and it's against what they don't know what to believe, because we have positioned the medical community as the authorities of our life.
Exactly. I was just going to bring that up, is that a lot of us, in the world has been placing everything else besides themselves as the authority.
That's right.
So it's like, if you're not in your authority, there's consequences for that. And that's the truth. You're either going to be in your truth no matter what happens. Like I have conviction about what I believe is my experience and what I will and will not do. No matter what, no matter what.
But that's sovereignty, right? If it's coming from you and it's solid,
yeah,
and you're open to listening, to hearing, to exploring, to watching. I feel like I'm just a watcher right now.
Yep.
I am in observation mode, and I watch myself actually go here, and then I'll go here. And then I'll catch myself underneath a waterfall trying to climb that thing, fighting everything.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, what's happening here?
Mm-hmm.
What is not my truth? What am I fighting against? Who am I trying to convince? Because that's what these people who are persuading one way or the other are doing.
Yeah.
They're using the anger and the viciousness to climb up, because it takes so much more momentum, and it takes like screaming and yelling and being pissed and like to actually get up the waterfall.
Yeah. Well, it's everything is trying to condition us. And, I believe that that's with our evolution and where we're heading, and why people that are in their authority are going to be the doulas when 2027 comes out. Like, we're literally like birthing a new species, a new vehicle that will process consciousness differently. And we're at this last phase, and it's everything is saying, hey, you're either going to be conditioned or you're going to be your truth, and that's the choice, and that's like,
well, and I'm even thinking like the waterfall is really just what life's presenting, what life's allowing to come in. It's coming in this massive amount of information right now, and we've not experienced it before, and so everything is just assumption. We have no idea. No one knows. There hasn't been enough time to prove it in the material world. That's the way that works. There just hasn't been enough time. And so if life is presenting all of this water that's coming down, you can actually ride the current.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can be on top of it. You don't have to be consumed by it or fighting against it or trying to stop it. Like, let's stop the waterfall. Let's build a dam. Let's build a wall. Let's quit things from happening. Let's quit life from flowing. When life is actually presenting opportunity for evolving and experiencing, for creating,
for
consuming,
everything is how it needs to be. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like not our job to try to change the world. And that's, what's been happening with all these leaders and, people that are trying to go with the homogenized train, everyone be the same, everyone do the same thing. And
I cannot tolerate a world full of brown M&Ms. Yeah. I need Skittles, man.
Yeah.
I need diversity. And I mean, we're not standing here for all of that fighting, because we are that. Yep. We believe in bioindividuality. We believe in diversity. We believe in flavor and variety.
Yep. And that's what we're here for. And it's like, what I believe is also happening is that like the revelations, the judgment, right? All of these things that we've heard in these prophecies, and the phoenix coming in, how we're going to be awakening as a collective. It's like underneath, like there's a current underneath in the ocean where we know that this is the end of this illusion, right? So people are hanging on to it like super tight. It's getting stronger. It's getting, but there's going to be a huge revelation, a huge awakening. And that is what's happening as well. And yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter to me necessarily, like if other people like quote unquote wake up, meaning they become their own authority, like people that want to be in the homogenized world, like let them do that. That's
they may be fine with that. It's comfortable, it's safe, it works for them. They're getting advantages out of it. Why the hell would they trade that in?
They won't discover the purpose of their existence, and they won't actually reach their
maybe their existence is just to come and experience that.
Yeah.
Maybe their existence is come to piss someone else off, for someone else to awaken. We don't know. That's what I'm saying. I'm not going to argue and fight about this, because we don't know. And anyone who claims that they do know is full of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's always changing, and truth is always changing.
Experience. Yeah. All we have is like our personal vantage point, like what we're experiencing. And that's what we're here to do, is just have our own experience and let other people have their own experience. And that's it. But I think the main thing why we wanted to talk about this today was really just to inspire, encourage people to stand in your integrity, and to know, like, it's a good way to know if you're going into conditioning or homogenization, if you're not being your true self because of these pressures. Like, if you don't know what to do, you don't know who you are, right? And you're not sure where to go with all this, because it's really confusing time. Get used to being comfortable in the uncomfortable, and being okay with like people not liking how you are or what you say, or just be your fucking self, no
And
matter
your
what.
mind is going to even question you liking yourself, just so you know. So what I wanted, whenever we talked about coming on and speaking about this, I really wanted to speak to the person who really hasn't figured it out yet. And they're not so confident and they're not so courageous and they're not so sure. They just know that something doesn't feel right. Something is like, what do I do when I am feeling the pressure of everyone around me? Like the messaging from the environment that I personally live in is pushing one way, and I feel pressured. That's the number, especially if you're an emotional authority. And for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, Danielle and I do readings that we will both meet with you. It's a 90-minute reading where we will go through your design, your relationships, and whatever is going on in your world, and how to help direct you to your sovereign truth. Like how to find that from within yourself so that you're not sitting in this confusion, or because let's be honest, 40, 50 years of watching it be done this other way has an impact.
Yeah.
It is safe. It is what everyone else is doing. Like if you just go stand in line, you get like 8 people and you just stand in line at a grocery store, but there's no counter in front. Let's just say just 8 of us walk in a grocery store and we all go stand in line. People will start standing behind us.
I've seen this happen on like with millions of people.
And so that's what society is looking for, even if in your business. So that's where it's coming from, to get these vanity metrics, to get all of these comments on your Facebook, to get all of these people to share your shit. Like it's coming from that same thing. I just need to look to see what everyone else is doing so I can do what they're doing, because that's going to be the safe thing. That's going to be the right thing. Bullshit.
Yep.
That's just what I want to call on.
Very interesting times. And yeah, I mean, I would just say like try to surrender and trust and have fun with this and see.
I think that's the key word. It is fun.
Yep.
When you are relieved.
Yep.
When you have released yourself and you move into exploratory phase, into questioning, into observing, and just watch without reacting or responding. Don't give an answer, just watch. And here's another challenge for you. Don't share it with anyone. Just allow it to go into your own body and to transmute, and then to come out as wisdom. Like without reacting, without responding, just keep it to yourself and contemplate and watch the need to go tell someone else and to get someone else to agree with you. Watch that temptation.
Right.
Like your body, like you keep thinking about who you want to call, who you want to tell. I need to put this on social media. I need to get people to see this, to know this, to approve, to validate, so that it's safe for me to believe it, because that's the line. That's the 8 people in line.
Yes. Yeah. Getting all the other beings to confirm your own bias or your own beliefs. And yeah, I mean, it's just such an interesting thing. And I know for myself personally, I mean, I've pretty much always been someone that like contemplates my existence. I just thought that that's what humans do, but apparently not. Hyper Scorpio over here, but especially in the last like couple months, it's just been, really processing a lot deeper around like why I exist, why do we have existence, like what the heck is happening. And I believe that that's where we're at in this time, is like that's what we're here to discover. And yeah, I mean, we get distracted by all these other things, like, oh, I have to go to the store today, or I need to go take my kids here and there. And like, yeah, we do that stuff and all that, but, that there's like a deeper reason, a deeper purpose of like what's happening right now. And this is like what the cosmology of human design talks about, of where we are right now in the collective. Like, what are we doing? Like, why are we doing this life thing? It's like,
that's a great, like, and it would be so interesting, just like, don't excuse, don't rationalize, don't explain, don't judge.
Yep.
Just show me. I'm willing to explore. I'm willing to experience. If I don't respond right now, what will happen? If I wait, what will happen?
Yeah.
That's how it starts.
We just need to be in our own authorities, and realign the mind. And that's what Kim and I do. Like, if you ever wanted to get a session with us, we go deep into the mechanics and help you to ground down and make this practical for yourself. Because that's the reason we have this information right now. We have 6 years left, for the people that are going to be in alignment, that are going to be able to travel through this changing waves of where we are. And it's going to be people like us that can help the people, because it's not going to necessarily get easier.
No, it's just that we've been we've been in the experience of it for quite a few years now. So we've gotten a taste of it for ourselves, and also worked with so many other people, and gotten to know their design and just human nature in general, and not judging and comparing even ourselves to other people, like, because that's where that homogenization comes in. Because if they did it, if they achieved it, it must be true. It must work for everyone. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
And it's interesting because it's not even really about achieving anything. Because even if you have all this information, like I was telling Kim when I first got on the call, she's like, "Hey, how are you?" I'm like, "Well, I've been in a melancholy wave for like a week, and I'm uber geek on all these codes and learning about consciousness. And I feel like I have a lot of answers like for myself that I've come up with, but it doesn't make everything, like, you're still going to have your human experience. You're still going to have struggle and suffering and resistance, but it's going to be a different relationship that you have with it. That's the point. And that's really the gift of all of these codes, to have that unique experience with life, to help you understand like why you exist and what you're doing here. So.
And the whole thing with like COVID and everything that's going on right now, that is part of our human experience in this time and space. It is part of our reality. That shit is real. You can avoid it. You can deny it. You can do whatever you want to do. But the truth is, every single person here in this world will be affected. It will affect the stores that you shop in, your children, your life, someone that you know. We have 3 people who died here in the last 2 days of COVID. That were in the hospital. I had COVID. I'm recovered. I'm on the other end of it. And so even if it may not be you personally, maybe you just have the experience of being asymptomatic and not even having, just being a carrier or whatever. But the truth is, it is a part of our existence. I don't want to deny that. It's part of the political system. It's part of the financial system. It is part of our economy. It just is. I'm just not going to like go up that stream and try to shut it off, when in reality, life allowed it.
Yeah. And I mean, the way
I was pissed for a long time, though. I'm going to tell you, I used anger to heal. I was pissed because I felt like someone did this to me, right? To us. I was pissed. I was anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. I cut you off.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you. And when I look at it through the lens of the cosmology, that yes, it is an essential part of this evolution. And what the cosmology talks about is that there's going to be a mass like awakening. And it's through like a psychological shock that's going to happen. And I believe it's going to be through a lot of things being revealed, all the illusions, all the lies, all the corruption, all the things in life that have kept us from being our own authority is going to be released. Like that's going to be like,
I believe that,
smashed. And it's going to shock a lot of people because when our lies are destroyed, the lies that we believed, and we realize that we've been in an illusion, it's a shock to like wake up to truth, and the revelations and all of that. So
much so that some will choose not to wake up. They will choose to hang on to their story. Ego will not allow them to go somewhere else, because they've built that resistance, and they're going to protect the ego, no matter what that looks like. We're already seeing that.
Yeah. And I think that's what's going to be so hard for people with the mutation in 2027, because it's going to be like the light switch is turned on, and it's like, you can't run from it anymore. You can't deny it.
That's kind of what COVID is doing. I think it's a good warm up.
Well, it's definitely a prelude to where we're heading. And everyone knows that something's not right about that.
Something is definitely happening. If you guys feel, whoever's listening to this, if you feel a little isolated, alone, you're not quite sure, and you want someone to help take you to yourself, we're not going to take you to us. We're going to take you to our beliefs. There's things Danielle and I don't even believe, don't even agree on, which is what makes this so beautiful, is she's able to come and speak her truth, be in her sovereignty and in her reality of whatever that is in this time and space at this moment. Will that change? Hell fucking yeah, it's going to change. You're not going to keep thinking what you're thinking. I'm not going to keep thinking what I'm thinking, because life's going to present more and more experience, and then we're going to awaken more. We're going to expand more. I'm thinking of, I've been playing with this thing about, this is the limiting beliefs, right?
Right. Yeah, I like that.
And can we play and have fun with that? I don't want to be stuck in this.
Yeah.
I don't want to be compressed. I don't want to be in a cage. I don't want a label on me. I don't want anyone predicting or saying or thinking they know who the hell I am, because they don't. I change on a regular basis, and I don't appreciate anybody labeling or predicting or saying that they know who the hell I am.
Sure.
Because I'm with life, and it's whatever life is allowing me to be that week. Like you said, you were melancholy for a couple of weeks or for, for a while. I feel that too, since the whole COVID thing. I've been very, what is the word? Cautious or careful or picky about where I put my time and energy, who I talk to, where I'm spending it at, what I'm like. I am completely out of the convincing mode. I'm not going there. I'm done with that. I am in my boat and I'm riding down the stream and life is taking me. And it is so much funner.
Yep, exactly. And that's why it's beautiful to be able to have these kind of conversations of, freedom and just like what we're all experiencing. And yeah, I hope you guys, if you haven't had a session with us, definitely reach out. We'd love to share this with you, and because we're all going to need as much support as we can get moving into these new spaces and in our reality.
I think the beauty is if we can give people permission to explore and expand themselves, that more and more truth and consciousness will come forward. But as long as we're compressed and trying to hold it and trying to be like everyone else, then we only get to live the past. Fuck the past. I don't want to live in the past. I don't do reverse.
Yep. Everything is just moving.
Like we're going to have to click the button that says no kids can listen to this one because I cussed a lot.
Yeah, me too.
So I'm going to put our information. I'll put our links. You can contact either one of us. We both, Danielle has stuff going on. I have stuff going on. And we've just decided that it's like I like the way that we work together. So being able to come in, have your charts pulled, know a little bit more about the codes and the gates and your strategy and authority with the transmuting work, the integrating and the embodiment work, like bringing that together has been so impactful for our clients. And so we wanted to offer this to the public. So I'll have a link below. You can just send an email to either one of us and say, I'm interested in a session. So we will be back next week. Not sure what we'll talk on because whatever the waterfall delivers is what we're riding on.
Yep.
So if you have any questions or comments, you can post them below or reach out to either one of us. Thanks, Danielle.